Bill, should be ready.
My clock's in there.
Yeah, my phone said that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second that. Motion by Bill, Terry, seconded by Terry to approve the minutes and the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing for fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. Is there any public comments? I suppose we have to open.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, any public comments?
Well, then I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment.
I'll second it.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to close the public hearing for the budget amendment 2018. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Need a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to appropriate money for the 2018 budget.
I'll second it, I guess. There says no action, does it?
It needs to be done. So if they want to spank our hands on this one, let them do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry.
No, the other way around.
Terry, seconded by Bill, to approve the budget amendment for 2018. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. So, Scott.
Need,
This one?
I'll just give you mine because
Okay.
those are copies for you. So I need a signature there. Give me those back. And signature there. Thank you.
Any updates?
No May baskets?
No May baskets.
No.
Sorry,
No.
completely slipped my mind.
I must not have got the memo.
Yeah,
You got kicked off the email list or something?
with that one.
The road's starting to recover now.
I would sure say so. Guys are out full-time blading, and I'd say by end of the week they would have been over most of them. So making good progress with the weather. Of course, we got some rain here in the forecast this week, but
Some of them I drove on were kind of soft and loose.
yeah, some of the ones that
Nothing
look
making
nice
big
after they
dog
shaped them up, but they'll take some time to really heal, and maybe the rain will kind of wash the last of the unevenness out of it.
Need a couple of good hard ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of pretty good bad spots on the county line over there. Between Cassuth and Winnebago, but you guys went and dumped rock all over it and ruined it, so now I had to dodge all them.
That. Yep. Well, they're doing spot loading gravels and blading, so hopefully things shape up quickly here.
You take the excitement out of it for the kids when they try to swerve
Yeah.
between all the mud holes and stuff.
Yeah.
The back end really sad shades.
Yeah. Or you hit a deep one, you can really jump up in the air, I bet.
I think our roads are a lot better shape than Highway 69. There's some really bad ones.
You mean north of town? Yeah, that project has been let, and they have a pre-con coming up shortly, so to do some resurfacing. So
They
hopefully,
said where the detour so?
I think they'll be able to do it all under traffic, is the plan.
Okay.
They gotta do
So it's just a
some
milling.
shoulder work and overlay, so I suppose they'll do one lane at a time.
So more of the pilot cars.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know if that's better or worse than a detour, but
Mm,
probably better.
It'd be nice if
Probably
they
better
were,
for county roads.
Better for county, yeah, gravel
it'd
roads
be nice if they were
included.
shorter pilot cars, when they stretch it out over 4 or 5 miles, I guess.
Yeah, of course, they were doing that concrete patchwork where if they didn't do 4 miles at a time, pretty soon they were waiting on 2 patches to cure, so
Yeah.
this may be a little different. I've seen their limit for pilot cars, but
I've noticed a lot of traffic. I don't know, if Google Maps is sending semi-traffic on our, what would it be? Well, straight off Highway 9 to the
220
east.
or 420?
Yeah, I suppose 420.
420. That road was in bad shape.
It doesn't send them off it, it brings them to that road. I mean, we're talking, I would say, commercial suppliers that are coming across there, not just the beat trucks, but there's some big trucks coming through there that look like they just came off the interstate and were heading somewhere. Not sure why it's changed. So it's a bad time of year to be putting pressure on that road.
yeah.
Yeah, that road's good. It's really bad by that hog set up there too. Just a little further east.
I have a couple things. R38, half mile from North County, I'm not sure can't remember the street name.
838, I suppose.
It's on 838, and then going north to the Abbey Farm, we have half of it.
I don't know where that is.
I'll show you. We have a quarter mile of it. This road right here.
Okay.
That water's coming over it. I believe the culvert is plugged and it's washed it out, so that needs to be looked at.
How far from somewhere?
Well, this is R74.
Yep, I'm with you. How far from the north end or south end?
Oh, right about there. Yep. This is private. This is just what we have.
Maybe 500 feet from the north end.
And it is pretty rough. There's some gunk washout on the road. And it serves two places. We should maybe look at abandoning that even maybe.
Well, and I believe it serves some isolated properties. Yeah, that Robert Abbey Trust property back there.
Right. It's got 2 homes, but I suppose they wouldn't want to do that.
It's not ideal. I mean, the landowners wouldn't
I know.
necessarily agree to it.
I know.
And that's kind of what it takes, but yeah.
And then R74, just half mile north of 838 there on the curve, culverts, that's plugged. That's holding back about 1.5 feet of water.
R74, half mile north of
Half
838.
mile away, 838. Or 3 miles south of Lake Mills, either one.
The culvert under the road is plugged. Okay.
That's all I got.
That's all I got as well.
Yeah. Everything else.
The hearing date,
I'm gonna look real quick. Here a second. Give me 2 seconds.
you want to discuss it?
You go to number 6, Aaron?
Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea, is Chris available?
Oh yeah, I'll send her over.
Okay, thanks.
make a motion to set the public hearing. My second,
May 22nd?
May 22nd at 9 o'clock.
Sure.
Okay, then 9 o'clock.
I'll second it.
Motion by myself, seconded by Terry to set the public hearing for the master matrix for Holland Pork LLC. May 22nd, 9 o'clock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody see anything on the monthly county claims?
Yeah, I saw one.
Okay, we'll wait then.
Good morning. Good.
Morning.
Yeah, for us.
Okay, so Rick is here. Do you want him to just talk quick? No, it's almost 9:15, so.
Yeah.
Because he's got some updates on other projects, so he can do that during the drainage part. So,
That's why I'm sitting out there instead.
yeah, he's in across the hall. Do you guys have anything?
Any questions come up?
You have anything?
Other than I've already addressed with Rick. So
I'm sorry?
I was asking Rick the other day about the, the sub one.
Yeah, so he's gonna update you on that.
Are any news on the, let's see this down cleaning out?
I ain't heard anything.
Okay, see they in city.
The water's too high on DD1.
Is it?
Yeah,
You can work to a certain depth, but that got pretty deep.
yeah.
All
So,
right, that's the reason, that's fine then.
Yep.
Because I've heard some.
okay.
So you had nothing on your agenda?
I do.
We'll look at these mineral managements.
It's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Don.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Got out last week with Mark and got our annual inspection done for drainage ditches in the county. And what I've got here is, as always, bring in a total maximum quote for each individual district and lateral. And then when we do the work, we come in and do it time materials based on whatever the guys actually run into out there. And this is a list of the ditches that for this year. One ditch I wanted to kind of touch on is, Mark, you need a copy of this? Sure. Is on DD number 5, you did a clean out there last year. We had it on the schedule last year, the main ditch to spray. However, if you remember last year, I visited with you and I quoted enough to do a second application this year on the areas where you took the big trees out. There's like 3 areas where it was just basically a forest where we hadn't been in and done any spraying because it would have just made a big mess if we kill all the trees. And now, my anticipation is last year there wasn't really anything out there to spray, but we went by those areas. Looks like you got quite a bit of new growth coming already. And that would actually be, if we get the rest of the ditches done earlier, we'd have to come back in later when everything leaves out and everything has a chance to get growing. The areas I'm talking about there would have been down by the golf course on the very south end. In fact, on the very south end, we hadn't been going far enough anyway. We were stopping at the road. It does go down into the golf course a little bit. But the trees have been taken off there, and then probably a quarter mile, I think, north. And then there was another spot further up. But all the other areas where the trees have been taken off in the past, we've already been through a couple times, so they're just on a regular 3-year rotation now. But the laterals have to be done. They were in the schedule this year to be done anyway. That'll get everything back on the same schedule in 3 years. So, and also a couple minor changes that we made is DD 74 and 105 were supposed to be looked at this year. However, what we did is we took them off the schedule. It just makes more sense to do them when we do the main over on, I think it's number 3. Right, that goes into. When we do number 3 main, rather than going around those laterals and not doing them, we'll do those along with number 3. And with that, we did add DD1 lat 3, which was not in the schedule for this year. However, same thing. If we're doing the rest of the ditch, we just will do that one as well. It gets everything into the same year. And we'll look at that more as we progress with the program as we go forward. If we have any more of that, we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of shift them around to make sure we're doing everything in the same year. And there is one ditch that we got a good look at this year, number 28, I think Mark told me it was, right in the city of Thompson, that we haven't done that before. It's just a little, I think it's supposed to be a tile, isn't it, Mark, that they opened up? And it's got quite a bit of stuff on it. That's the number 28 I've got marked there. But with that, everything else is pretty much just on a regular rotation. Everything looked really good out there. I mean, we saw some stuff, but not a lot, so it shouldn't take the guys very long to get through. I do have, from the last 3 years ago when we did these same ditches, the total quote was $50,500, and the actual amount that was charged when we got done was $20,678.90. One of the reasons that the quote is so much higher than the actual, for one thing, we're not looking at ditches. We'll see anything that's close to the road. But if you got small stuff out in the middle, the guys are going to find it, because when I do the inspections, and those of you that have ridden for me in the past know I just go from bridge to bridge. I don't drive every mile and count trees. We just kind of get a feel for what's out there. But my guys, when they come in, they'll start at one end and drive the whole system. Another thing that kind of runs the cost up is you've got the main and all the laterals, which all have to be kept separate as well. So I've got a separate price for each one. And then when we bill it, we do it the same way. There's an invoice for the main, and then any of the laterals that we do are separated out, individually billed. And this year the quote total is $43,250. As I said, last year for the ditches it was $50,500. The actual was $20,678. So it's quite a difference.
Now, how will our project on DD1?
We looked at that. It really did not affect anything, because most of that has been planted. Typically been planted right up to the ditch. So the areas where they're taking the bottom out and the spoil, where they're putting the spoil, there's no trees there anyway. It's just, and they aren't disturbing the banks. I don't know if they're, they might do some if they have to replace some tile or some inlets, but basically they haven't disturbed the area that we treat. Typically is the ditch bank.
One comment I have is DD8 is going away. We are incorporating that into DD1 in the reclassification. So,
does it need to be separate this year yet, or does it?
No, you can put it all into DD1.
Because that's kind of
it was
kind of odd anyway.
It is. That's why when we're reclassifying it, we're just putting it into DD1.
That's a different district.
Yeah.
So that's on the lower end actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just make note of that. I'll just bill that all the way down, and in future we'll just change the map.
Yep. Thank you.
So with that, that's, I guess, unless there's any questions. We did, and Bill, you gotta refresh my memory on, that DD6, or LAT 6 over there by, I know I called you last year, but did I drop the ball and not call you back, or?
Yeah, you never got back.
I think I was waiting for you to call me at the same time. You were probably waiting for,
Yeah, I guess I
me to
thought
call
when you guys were gonna get close, I thought,
Yeah.
when you thought you were gonna do it, you were gonna call me.
have you talked to the gentleman out there?
I have not lately.
If you could, I don't know, maybe it'd work better if you could just call him and tell him we're gonna be coming through, and we'll just stop at the house and talk to him when we go through there. You know, that would make it better, that way we don't have to coordinate, and, you know, with your busy schedule, and then, and I can remember how we left it, if I know I did talk with you at one point in time, but then I didn't call you, and I don't know if I thought you were supposed to call me or what the situation was, but that one's kinda hanging out there, but what we like to do is get in there, get that done before we do anything else this year, to make sure it does get done.
So,
It's not really, it's not out of hand. I mean, there are getting to be some trees out there, but if we don't get on top of it, we'll get some bigger trees in there again. So if you could do that, just give him a heads up and then give me his phone number. Then,
when are you looking at, date-wise for that?
we're looking at I'd probably want to do is drive by and see what's out there as far as the trees again. And then, I hate to say this, but I'll call you. Let you know, because that didn't work out very good last year. But I'll just look at it and then give you some idea whether we want to do it with a foliar or whether we want to go and do a basal. And because the thing is, if there's going to be a lot of stuff, we really don't want to do a basal because all these other ones we can do with a basal, and it really doesn't affect the cost that much. But on these areas like where you get the regrowth out here on number 5, you're going to have a high stem density, and the basal is so much more expensive when you're doing a lot of trees than it is to just go in and do the foliar. So I'll look at that today, and then I'll give you a call back right away.
All right.
Because if it's foliar, obviously everything's behind. I think I saw one tree yesterday in my travels in one grove that was starting to get a little bit of green tinge to it. Normally by this time we got buds breaking and leaves coming out.
Yeah.
So that might be, but things are going to go fast, I think. Once this weather hits, I think everything's going to green up really fast. So why don't we do that, and then we will make sure and do that before we do anything else in the county, just to make sure it gets done.
And just let me know, I'll stop up and talk to him. And,
Yeah. I just let him know, if I need to talk to him personally, or if we want the lead person when the guys come up there to go
let me know
talk to
when
him.
you can be there, and I'll try and
Yeah.
meet you there. And
Yeah.
we'll visit.
Yeah, we'll do that. But I don't think there's going to be a problem getting through, and once we get it on the rotation. But because we've always done everything north of him and everything south of him, it's just that one section that we haven't.
I would guess his only concern will be that one area we allowed him to leave them.
Leave those.
Not on the bank, but at the very top.
Those evergreen trees there.
Yeah, and there's some other garbage there, but it's pretty much the toe of the slope and back.
So it goes right up to the ditch.
It's just a couple 100-foot area there maybe.
Yeah, and we do need to know that, because if there are trees close to the ditch, what we typically do if you got a CRP is we'll go from the toe of the ditch out about probably 15 feet, 16 feet, something, approximately a rod, is what the guys will treat. And then, and if there's trees in that area that he wants to keep, we're gonna have to specifically tell the guys or maybe flag it for them, so they don't.
Yeah, that would be best.
Flag it just to make sure. And maybe if it's fit, want to meet him out there, we can just drive out and we can flag him while we're there.
Yeah.
So. But that's the only thing that's kind of hanging out there, other than, like I said, that one from last year, where I knew there wasn't going to be enough stuff there after looking at there, because it was pretty much bared to the dirt, in those areas where you took the big trees out. But just from experience, I know, because you basically took a forest out in a couple little areas, you're going to have a lot of seeds take off, and maybe some of the roots from the stuff that was there. Yeah. So, and that's why I did it that way on that one last year. So with that's what we have. Something else that I would like to do this year that is a little bit different is, and this is just for the county's benefit, we've got our insurance, our liability insurance and pollution insurance and such, and I've found that what I need to do is have a signed contract with my customers, and what that does for you as a county is it automatically covers you as additionally insured under my policy. But, and what most of the counties are just doing is they're just writing accepted on this. Normally you just approve it, I take it home or stamp it approved, and then have somebody initial or sign off on it, and that will suffice as a signed contract. And what that does is it automatically, otherwise what I have to do with all my counties is I have to call the insurance company individually and say we need them, then they charge me X amount. But it's just so much simpler. Ink is a lot cheaper than what it costs to have and that's just a rider they have on the insurance. So I don't anticipate any problems. We've never really, in fact, I can count on one hand the number of times we've had problems in the 35, 36 years I've been doing this. But one of them was a real problem with you guys probably maybe remember the fish kill we had down in southwest Iowa. But it was a big headache. I mean, it took 6 years. We got the win when it finally got out to district court, but it was 6 years of headache for.
You say you won?
Yeah, we won.
Did they reimburse you for your legal fees?
Oh, I think you know the answer to that.
Yeah, so that's what I heard.
Well, and it was kind of I was naive at the time. I know things. I did get an education back then that, it's one of those educations you hope you never have to use again. But if we ever got the DNR call on us again, things would go a lot different than they did then. Because I was naive. I thought, well, we know what we're doing. We're spraying, and the stuff is legal. We're putting it on at the right amount. But what they did is when they got to the site, is they saw dead fish in the water and a sprayer on the bank, and they put a target on us right then and there. And that's the road they went down, and there was no backing up and no stopping.
It's tragically unfounded, and yet you still have to pay your legal fees.
Well, luckily, it's something that I did have, and I didn't even know I had it until then. Did me a real service to have a good insurance agent. We have our general liability. We've got our automobile, general liability, and our work comp. Well, this guy had the presence of mind to also get us an additional $100,000 pollution insurance. And what that does, and I don't know if any of you have dealt with the DNR, but they don't talk about misapplication or overspray or anything like that. Anything that affects anything they have control of, they go right to pollution. And general liability won't cover pollution insurance. It's pollution. And we did have $100,000 worth of pollution insurance. That was enough to cover the legal bills. In fact, the legal bills got halfway to maxing it out. I mean, just for.
Well, right now they think they're God. If it keeps going, they're going to think they're above God.
Yeah. Well, I work with the DNR. I mean, we do a lot of spraying for the DNR. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife and DNR, we do on their wetland sites and such, and I get along with those people great. But boy, I tell you what,
it only takes
that enforcement agency is it's tough to deal with.
It has an agenda, I guess.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it cost everybody a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, the time involved and see the fines itself with the fish and the restitution and all that good stuff. They had gotten that all the way down to like $14,000-$15,000, which would have been cheaper for the insurance company to pay. The thing that got us, and this was a trustee district out in southwest Iowa, and the thing that irritated me and kept me going was they weren't just charging me; they were charging that board just because they hired me. I mean, they were trying to make them culpable as well. And that's what really, we might have just said, well, for what that cost, we'll just sign off on it. We knew we didn't do anything wrong. I mean, we knew if it got right down to it, The thing is when you get charged by the DNR, you've got to do the commissioner meetings down in Des Moines, and then we had to go see an administrative law judge, which was in their building. We had a hearing with an administrative law judge. And I didn't realize it, but about halfway through about halfway through the second day we were down there for the hearings, and I found out that this administrative law judge that they hired, her office was in the same building. It was in the Wallace building where we had the hearing. It's like, how come we didn't get to hire our law judge? I mean, it just seems like things are stacked against you from the get-go. And but like I said, after 6 years, we did finally get it out to the district court for the second time, and then we did get the win. But and that might be why they're, when you see the enforcement actions on their website, why the fines are like $4 or $5, maybe $10,000. It's because it costs so much to fight them, but it's just basically a tax.
Yeah, no, it's, you just won't pay it rather than fight it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see it that way.
Okay,
I just have a question on 54 Lot 6 ditch. Lakeside is gonna be seeding that. Will that be in the way?
Oh.
We won't, no, that's the very far end. We won't
Oh.
even be on that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
we won't be
I
on,
just
we won't
wanted to make
start
sure that
until we
wouldn't-
get where it crosses Highway 9 there.
okay,
Yeah, we won't do, because they basically rebuilt that whole ditch.
yeah,
I mean, there's nothing out there. You know, if they were doing the same thing on some of these other cleanouts, obviously we wouldn't be there.
yeah,
But yeah, that, because I did notice it, because that, we used to spray from the toe of the bank all the way to the, up into the fence line. And there was quite a distance there, but they've taken the fence out now,
okay.
and yeah.
I
there
just
was
wanna
no-
make sure that your stuff wouldn't kill their stuff
No,
to,
we won't even,
yeah, okay,
we won't
good.
even be on that.
Okay, that was it.
I guess my question for you is on that joint ditch, is Winnebago or Worth controlling county?
We are.
Okay, because we're gonna be doing the rest of the main too.
Oh, nice.
Now, they have a question right now with how far that actually goes, so they're gonna find that out before we do it.
Okay,
But then what I'll do is I'll build that whole thing to Winnebago County. And then that way we don't have to do it, because we're gonna be doing 1 mile of yours, and then like 3 miles of theirs.
well, maybe they are the control, for the main. I was thinking this one, but, okay,
You can check it.
I'll look it up.
But that way I don't, if I split it up, I've gotta send you partial and them partial, and then you're sending partials back and forth.
It's not good.
So what we try to do on joint ditches is send it just to the controlling county.
Yep.
And they've already approved to do the work on their side too, so.
Sorry, I didn't.
So,
We'll just approve it next week then.
okay, and then like I said, all you have to do for the insurance is just put if you got a stamp that says approved and date it and one of you sign it. And then, just, if you wanna email me a copy of it to have on hand. So, hopefully we'll never have to use it. Like I said, it's not but it's good to have that, to know that, because, even when we were doing, when we went through our case before, the board, we weren't doing that at the time, and the board wasn't covered. And now every year we get a contract with them when we do their work. And what they found out was this, this is where we got into the pollution insurance, is they went to their insurance carrier that the board had, the trustee board. And as soon as they started talking pollution, they said, well, we don't cover pollution. Well, they had liability insurance, but the pollution was, so they did do half of their, they had their own attorney to start with, but halfway through, they dropped their attorney and just went with ours. And then, so that helped them considerably. So.
what county was that?
That was in Monona County, and it was the New Farmers
I
Drainage
thought state
District.
statute prohibited anybody from suing.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is, when the judge came down to his decision, the only way to get to a decision on that, because that was part of the lawsuit,
Okay.
was that the drainage district wasn't liable because they're a ghost entity. I mean, his exact wording was that's for a future case, because the only way to get to that was to find me liable, and then they would find the board liable, and then he would have to make a decision on whether or not they could even be sued. But it didn't quite get that far, which on my side, it's good. Maybe the district would like to see it go one more step, just to get a ruling on it. And that's one of the things that we kind of thought too, working with the trustees down there, is that it seemed like they were trying to use this to set a precedent too.
Yeah.
To where, we can go after these ditches, we can go after these districts. So,
Well, they want to.
yeah, but it didn't get to that point, because they had to first find them liable before they had to decide whether or not they were liable. So, like I said, I got a pretty good education back then.
Yeah.
Hopefully never have to use it, other than just conversation. So, all right, as soon as you get that done, then if you get a copy, just have Chris email it to me, and I'll let you know when the guys get started.
Right.
Sounds
All right.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Going to give you a quick update on DD 21 that we've done the reclassification on. We got a drawing that showed the very east part of Rake has piling that takes part of the water east. So what I've given you now is a revision. Now, we spread 80,000 on this. Yeah, the first map you come to, the color drawing, kind of gives you the layout of everything. And the main tile, which is the reclass I gave you, is way up at the upper end of the drawing. So, a lot of acres, but because of that extra tiling that was done to take part of the water east, we did not get any of those parcels out of the district, but we reduced their assessment level, their benefit level for this report. So you get into the town ones and they're not paying much. This is spreading $80,000 to give you an idea of what anybody would be paying. Let me look at a couple of those. When you get into areas that have lots and blocks listed, that's where you can get an idea what town lots would be paying. It's just not very much. I mean, $10, $5, $4, and this is a good point to remind you that minimum anybody pays is $5, isn't it still, right, Chris? So, and this hearing is coming up 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today, we'll have the hearing on this. So, and this is the information we can provide the landowners. Nobody has large assessments, and that's simply because it's so big. Has a total of a little over 6,500 acres in it. So the average cost per acre comes out to $12.28 an acre.
I'm just curious, why are there some up in the $156 per acre?
Some of it's just the soils and the actual benefit they get there. It just works out that way with the soils. The residential ones are higher benefit than the ag ground, higher use, I guess we'd call it. So typically the average benefit on the residential ones ends up higher. The cost can end up kind of funny with percent of area they have, and then it ends up with a little bit higher cost per acre.
You know if that changed much?
No, did not.
It didn't?
No. I would say with the change we made, the ag ground probably only changed 1 or 2%. I'm just trying to approximate that in my head earlier this morning. And
Rick seems to get caught up with that.
all the time. So you must have land that...
He's got 5 acres at $125 an acre.
Okay. What page are you on there?
Second page.
Okay.
Fourth one down.
Okay.
There.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, yeah.
What's the name?
Second page.
Page 3.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Second page, page 3.
Oh, there, I see it. Okay. Yeah, he has just such a small area. That he must be west of the divide line for this tile that takes water east. So he's paying the full residential rate, whereas the neighbor to the east of him would be half his. But his total assessment is still only $10.06. So, yeah, I'm sure that's one of those. There's several there that are 100 or more per acre. Those are the ones that were not reduced. The hearing would be the opportunity for landowners to address anything that they think is not right on this. Commissioners have been good to work on this, with this. Genuine concern in getting it right and fair. So, don't really need any formal action
No.
on this.
Mm-mm.
This is just more informational than anything.
So Hawkeye Land still owns property in this district?
Yes.
Is it up in Rake then, or?
Must be, because that's a railroad.
Yeah, there's several listings for railroad property in here. And Hawkeye is one of those, yes.
Important one is what you cost my mother-in-law.
Uh-oh. How bad is it? Is it ag ground? Oh,
$4.55. Just gotta be careful.
have to be able to explain why you raised it to 5 minimum. Yeah, that's a nice thing, even at spending 80,000, nobody has a big bill. That's, I like those. Typically get fewer complaints that way.
Our county's getting hit pretty good.
Yeah, it ends up that way. Commissioners,
I've got the Quam Wildlife out there, I suppose.
No, that'd be the,
Was it?
that'd
yeah,
be
the
conservation.
roads, commissioners
Is
generally
that just
pay.
lumped with Winnebago County?
Mm-mm, they have their own parcel
They have
numbers.
their own, okay. What is road roll?
Right of way.
Right of way,
Right.
right of way, yep. Okay, roads and streets get hit fairly hard.
Do you have an extra copy of that one?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Any questions?
Lots of numbers. I wanted to give you an update on a couple of the other projects, about 3 of them actually.
Do we have to do something on this one first?
No action required.
Okay.
We'll move back to auditor's office, discuss drainage matters.
Okay. This is just a location drawing for DD 11. This is one where they petitioned for possible improvements, and then the open ditch option was brought up as a possible consideration. What I've given you is a drawing showing where it would be feasible to put a ditch. Now, we had the tile part of this report done in January, I looked back in the file, but we need to get some field work. It'll be less than a day's work out there to get the lay of the land, see what kind of depths we'd have with a ditch so we can get the excavation quantity close at least. Yeah, less than a day in the field, but conditions just haven't been right. So we're hoping next week to get that field information gathered, and then we'll want to get on the agenda to submit this report, because it won't take a lot at this point.
So if they would have proceeded with just the replacement of tile with an improvement, would there have been enough cover?
That's the other question. I am uncertain of that. I really want to get, that's the second reason.
It's a pretty big tile.
Yes, and I just mentioned that to Chris here too, that going bigger tile, do we have cover? You can go with arch pipe, but that doubles the cost of that stretch of the project, so it's a huge effect.
That's where the open ditch is more cost effective.
There you go, yes. So we'll include all that in the report as far as costs.
Different options.
Yeah, different options, recommendations, pros and cons. Yeah, and we have sent a letter to the 4 landowners that we could be on getting the field work. We did that in March, being optimistic, hoping that we could do it in April. Didn't happen. So we'll get it. We'll get the report. We'll get it on the agenda. Another one, I love saying the name of this one, DD1, Sub 1, Lat 2. It's the upper end of Sub 1. It's a tile portion. The question was, what would it cost to upgrade that tile to better flow conditions? We've gone through the calculations to determine the capacity of the existing system. We've sized a 1/2 inch, we've sized a 1 inch coefficient system. And I believe this is one where you were hoping to have an informal meeting with the landowners once we had better cost figures. Our engineer that has done the calculations to this point has been out 2 months for complications of surgery. She's back now part-time. I think by next week she'd probably be able to work with me to get this report summarized. We won't do a full-blown report. We'll probably do it in letter form with just an attachment showing the cost estimate. So, yeah, another one where we'll be getting back to you to get on the agenda. DD1 cleanout, Larson. You're aware of the issues with snow and high water. They were hoping to be putting in outlet repairs last week. Water was just too high, things were too wet. They have pipe delivered out to the site. I went by there this morning. But their machine has just been setting now for a while. I don't know if you've seen it up there.
Since just before the last snow.
Yeah, yes.
They worked the day before the snow and then.
Yeah, yep. So they're on it. They've been good to work with. Just a matter of weather conditions being right to finish it at this point. So.
Have you guys had any complaints or heard anything? Okay. Just want to make sure.
That's a good question. Yeah, because we'd appreciate it if you do hear anything, let us know and we'll work with Larson to get it taken care of.
Seems like there's a couple areas there near the highway that there's a lot of rocks that came out of there.
Yes, yeah, I saw one of those areas this morning, in fact. Yeah, through the years it must have got dumped in there, and now with this clean out, they're fishing it out. So it's gonna be a pain picking those up.
But that'll open her up a little bit.
Oh yeah, we were surprised how much silt there was in that ditch, as good as it appeared to be flowing previously before the work. But it's just that much better now. Just greatly improved again, or repaired. Be careful when I say improved.
On that Sub 1, the one that submitted the improvement,
Mm-hmm.
he's concerned. He's got a lot of water standing.
Okay. The coefficient is like an 1/8 inch on the existing system. Part of it just a little over an 1/8. Some of it's actually a little under an 1/8 of an inch. So it's not surprising. I think an informational meeting on that would be very good, and it'd be a very worthwhile project, even though it won't be cheap for anybody. So. Continuing work on a few reclassifications yet. We're getting close on all those. Yeah. Here we go, spring.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it looks like it might be here to stay.
Yeah, we hope so.
The forecast for May 2nd doesn't sound like it's gonna be what it was 4 years ago or whatever. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
You bet.
Break down that DD1, that improvement.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how that's planned? Will it involve one road crossing?
I think it's one. You're talking the tile improvement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one, but I've got the file in there, and we can look at that quick, if you.
The request was just the one. Ron's request was just the one improvement. Well, what do we have to do it at, across from the ditch, the outlet, I suppose?
Well, yeah, I was just talking up by, Warren's.
Yeah.
Cause it does, well,
Yeah, it does way off.
But I think the other one's okay.
yeah, I wasn't sure what was.
I haven't heard any, I don't think they want to improve that one necessarily, that's just.
Okay. Yeah, when you get a minute, let's just look.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Open forum.
They are actually debating the backfill this week. So now would be a good time to contact all of our representatives and senators and Governor Reynolds about the rollback. Or, yeah, the backfill for the rollbacks.
I've been told that leadership in Senate is pushing for backfilling this year and addressing wind turbines next year.
I got a memo from our legislative liaison for the auditors, and they said that they're still talking, both the House and the Senate talking about cutting in 19. So.
This is the Ways and Means Chair, so.
Okay, well, hopefully they will, but makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly not fair.
Well, what's sad is, if this would have been big oil, and they found oil underneath this, majority of the population was taxing through the roof. And here we have a natural resource, and it is an island, and yet we give it away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just mind-boggling to me. And we put up with the wind. I mean, they lose their mind when they go down there, or up to Washington, or maybe here too. Okay, anything else? Semi-monthly claims.
I had a question on, under the nurses, they have, one for Ability Network Incorporated for IT services for $4,154.
I'm gonna call Chris.
I'm gonna guess it might have been
Yeah,
software. I don't.
Usually it says software when
I'm
you
just
say.
guessing.
Hi, Chris. Bill had a question on the nurses' ability.
Ability Network Incorporated for IT services for $4,154.
Let me grab the claim.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yep.
I mean,
I like that redial.
I mean, it's, why, you know, who are these people? You know, we haven't used them that I've seen before. And then we have an IT guy and
We have an IT company.
yeah.
Okay. It's their program, I think, and this is their service from June 1 of 18 to 5/31 of 19.
It's the service for
Support
their,
service for their.
Yeah, for, I'm gonna assume their
Kind of
laptops.
like a Tyler thing.
Yeah.
You have to pay people knows to have. their-
Right.
Annual
Annual
when it sounds like,
ease.
when it makes it sound like IT services, it sounds like something we should be providing ourselves or from a different company.
Yeah, no, it's it's ability choice. Yeah, they have a monthly something, like for their claims, and then an annual for their home health
Well,
program.
that's Medicaid. That's the Medicaid program.
Required.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
And that requires our own IT personnel to take care of it or whatever it is.
Well, and that's just the service they put it under because it's an IT-related kind of thing, just not an Eric thing.
Okay,
Is that good?
that's what he said.
Okay. Any other questions on those? Okay.
Just got a drainage thing for you.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go back to Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You want to do this?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh, this is open floor and stuff.
Oh, okay, all right.